What's up, guys, and welcome back to the channel. Guys, I got a good one for you. This is definitely one that could be shared over a cup of coffee. So I really debated on even sharing this story with you guys. I've got very little footage, and I'll roll that here in just a minute, of the car. I was actually going to purchase a different S550 than I ended up purchasing. It was about 2 weeks prior to purchasing the new one that I got for the channel. And it was probably the worst experience that I've ever had at a car dealership, and it was actually a Ford dealership. This is something I probably more would have expected from some sleazy used car dealership. So if I can give you some tips on how to prevent this from happening to you, I thought it would be great to share. So guys, I really debated on doing this, but I think it's good that we can all share, and you guys will probably be interested in hearing my horror story. So stick around for that. I've got some footage to show you. Roll the intro. So you know how excited you get when you're going to go make a purchase. I don't care if it's $1,000 car or if it's a $50,000 car, and it's an exciting time, and you expect the dealership that you have that relationship with, that you've been building with, would reciprocate the relationship back to you, right? They're in the business to sell you the car, you're in the business to buy the car, right? It is a mutual business relationship between the two parties. And there are some certain expectations that should be met by both parties, right? So that is absolutely what didn't happen. So what I want to do is hopefully prevent you guys from making some of the same. I'm going to go ahead and blame some of it on myself, but I really shouldn't have to. But I'm just going to kind of go through the timeline with you guys on going to purchase this car. So there was a 2015 Premium GT that was what is it called? Guys, this car was a competition orange Premium GT 6-speed with Recaros. Had the 20-inch factory wheels, which I loved, and I was like, man, I found the car. It was a one-owner car bought from that small dealership here in Missouri and traded back in by an older couple that had owned the car its whole life. Back at that dealership, they traded it back in. I talked to the salesman so many times over the phone. So let me back up. This dealership is about an hour and 45 minutes from here. So guys, when you're going to do a purchase that's long distance, do your due diligence. I thought I did, but clearly I didn't do enough work. So that dealership and myself, with that salesperson, which we will leave unnamed, we talked on the phone, we messaged back and forth, we sent text messages with pictures back and forth. I had numerous questions about the car. They sent me the Carfax. I'm doing all the things and the legwork that I should be doing as a purchaser, right? And you're expecting the dealership is being forthcoming with everything on their side, and from all appearances they were. And we went back and forth. I specifically asked some questions, even in text message too. Is there any issues that I would need to be aware of with the car before driving this far? I even tell it, I was like, I'm going to the bank to get my loan before coming there. That was my mistake, is that I should have not done that, but I took the dealership on good faith that the car would be presented as they said. So I go take care of all of my bank paperwork, I get the cashier's check, I have some cash to go along with it, and I'm going to go ahead and roll this video right here, and this is me and my wife on my way to go get the car. Alrighty guys, so we are actually driving over to go look at a car. I think you guys seen on a couple of videos ago, I'd mentioned that these bezels, and my wife, who you can see here with me, is all for me being able to get a car that I've always wanted since they've came out. And things have came about that it is very potential that I will be able to buy one of those today. So I'm going to bring you guys along for the ride. We are about, look at the GPS here, we're 11 miles away from Ford, down here in a little town called Missouri. So bring you guys along for the ride, and I'll catch back up in just a minute. But guys, as you can see, I was excited, just like you guys get excited. Man, I've got everything lined up. The prices, I'm happy with the price. We've done everything long distance. Mistake. So I'm telling you guys, I am wound up. And we pull into the dealership, and I get there, we pull into the car, and I go, well, first thing I seen, well, the car's filthy. And I'm like, okay, this is not what I expected, but I'm like, hey, okay, I mean, the car can be washed, right? So here's a little clip of us pulling into the dealership lot. He's getting footage. Yeah, I know. Now guys, I know on that clip, it probably did not show very well how filthy the car was, but trust me, it was filthy. Not a little bit dirty, it was filthy. And okay, I can get past that. That is not a big deal, but just not what you expect, right? So I get there, and I meet the guy that I can only describe as a what appeared to be nothing against people sell cars, because I would love to. I would love to sell cars for a living. This guy was your typical sleazy, greasy-looking used car salesman, and he comes like, of course, reeking of smoke. And look, and if you, hey, I was a smoker for up till 17 years ago. I was a 2-pack a day smoker, so nothing against smokers, but again, the level of professionalism that I was expecting was not met. So this guy comes out, I'm like, okay, all right. And we probably spent a total time, my wife and I, at the dealership about 10 minutes, if that gives you any indication. So he comes out, he brings the key with him. They did have the car parked out front. It's a very, very small Ford dealership in a very small town here in Missouri. So anytime I'm going to go look at a car, it is really good to get past the tunnel vision of purchasing a new car. And I really struggle with that. My wife, I always try to bring her with me, because she will see things on the car that I don't see, because I get that tunnel vision of being excited about the potential purchase, and I'll miss stuff. Well, I think if you could make it a rule of thumb that you go wash a car every time before you buy it, you would notice every little imperfection in that car. Because it's always, you get home and you've bought that car, you get home, you wash it for the first time, and then you find all the things that you didn't see when you purchased it, right? So that's how you want to look at a car. You really want to walk over it just like you would be if you were washing it. Look at every panel, look at every detail. That way you're not surprised when you get home, and ultimately it's your fault if you didn't see those things and you purchased the car, right? So immediately I'm trying to really take those blinders off, take that tunnel vision off, and I want to really look over the car. I've got Angela there with me helping me look over the car, because she's better at it than I am. I start walking around the car. First thing I see on the rear wheel is big time curb rash on these beautiful 20-inch factory wheels. I'm like, You think maybe the guy could have told me that before I got there. That's kind of the question of, hey, is there any issues I need to know about? Any cosmetic or condition issues was my exact question that I need to know about on this car, right? Mind you, I've got a cashier's check in the truck. I've got cash in the truck. I've already did my loan, signed for the loan at the bank. All that stuff was finished and done. I already knew what date my first payment was going to be. I'm walking around the car. There's a chip of paint off the rear where the rear bumper cover meets the rear quarter panel. I'm like, okay, not a big deal. That's the kind of stuff I would expect to see on a car that's a 2015, right? I get to the passenger side door. There's a ding in the door. Again, that would be one of those things that I would have appreciated if he would have told me, but it probably would not have swayed me to go look at the car. The rim was a big deal to me. But got to, okay, that's a typical, what I would call a wear and tear for a vehicle that's 5 years old. I opened the passenger door, and it looked like somebody dropped a dumbbell inside of the door seal. Now, if you've never opened a door on an S550, right there, that door seal is probably this wide when you open that door. And I swear it looks like somebody dropped a 10-pound dumbbell right there in the door seal. Paint knocked off, huge dent. What the heck happened right here? So I see that, and that pisses me off. And Angela sees up on the front, on the right front fender, where there's evidently been some paint work, and it is dull in that area. Then I get around to the front of the car, and here in Missouri, you are required to have a front license plate. But clearly, there was 4 holes in the front of the front bumper, and they were all off center, and I'm just looking at that, just shaking my head. And at that point, right there, probably 3 minutes into the walk around of the car, I knew I wasn't buying the car. But you know what? This car had Recaros. I was already on the fence about buying a car with Recaros in it. Because I'm a big dude, and those things really hug you. So they're great for one thing, but maybe, for just getting it, I bought this car to be a cruiser, something that my wife and I can take out and enjoy, maybe take on a trip. Those Recaros bring really good money. You probably sell those Recaros out of that car for probably close to $2,000. I thought, okay, well, if I don't like them, I can always change them. But I thought maybe at that point in my mind, well, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and drive it anyway. I want to see how those Recaros feel with driving it. And that way, if I do want to look at another one in the future, that maybe I'll know if I'm going to like those Recaros or not. So he gives me the key. He runs right on back in the dealership. I'm finishing my walk around. I sit in the car. I go to start it up. The battery's dead. The freaking battery's dead. Now, mind you, let's back up just a little bit. So the day prior to me going there, I'd already arranged and told the guy what time I would be there, because the day before is actually when I went to the bank and got my cashier's check and did all of that work. And then the next day I said, we're going to be leaving at so-and-so time. We'll be there between X time, which was that afternoon. So they also had all day that day. So clearly, they didn't really put a lot of work into making sure the car was ready for me when I got there, right? And I'm just shaking. At that point, I'm probably a little past being livid. Now, I'm typically fairly professional, and I'm not going to be one of those guys that's just going to jump down somebody's throat. But I was pretty pissed, because in my mind, I've wasted all of my time at the bank. I've already wasted all of my time driving there. Also, I'm already thinking now I've got to go deal with the bank to get this loan canceled, which is also going to be a pain in the rear. And then I've got my time driving back home. So more than half of my day is completely wasted because that salesman couldn't take 5 minutes of time to be upfront and honest. And to be honest with you, I don't think he knew those things were there on the car, because he didn't take those 5 minutes like I did to go walk around the car to make sure there was something that I might need to know about. He thought I was just going to show up, hand the check over, and drive the car off. So I start telling the guy about the things that I seen on the car. When I get out of the car, he's like, you got to be kidding me, the thing won't start? I'm like, well, no, it won't start. And at that point, I didn't even drive the car. And I start telling the guy, well, What about the rim? What about the paint chips? What about the ding in the door? What about the big dent in the door sill? What about the paint being dull on the right front fender? And he says, his exact words, guys, I guess I'll stand here and take my ass chewing. That was his exact words. I was like, man, I didn't come here to have a confrontation. I come here to buy a car. And so we had some words back and forth, and he basically just stood there because he knew at that moment that they have not fulfilled their end of the agreement, right? That they didn't do their job. And I'm going to tell you, guys, most sales guys are good guys, right? I've dealt with a lot of salespeople in my life. I used to be in sales. Most of them, that's how they make their living, and it's their job to make sure that they take care of you, right? And if they don't take care of you, guess what? They don't get to make a living, right? This guy evidently was too lazy to go out and take a look at the car for me, knowing that I'm coming there. That's what really just fired me up. I was living on the way home. My wife was living because we both wasted our time. That the guy couldn't take 5 minutes of his time to make sure the car was good before I drive all that distance to come buy the car. I thought it was a done deal. And as a matter of fact, he ended up texting me back, basically just trying to defend himself, saying, what did you expect, the car to be brand new condition, and it's a 2015? Like, no, actually I didn't. I didn't expect the car to be brand new that was 5 years old in condition. But I did expect to at least know if there were issues from a cosmetic standpoint before driving there. And then I told him, I was like, look, I'm going to put reviews out there on my experience on this dealership. And I did. And he pretty much threatened me, saying, well, he was very passive aggressive of how he threatened me, basically stating if I called out names or anything. And I'm not here calling out names. I wouldn't do that anyway, just because it's not the professional thing to do. I'm not going to call out the dealership name. I'm not going to call this guy's name out. To be honest with you, I forgot his name because it's not that important. But if I can prevent you guys from making the mistake. So guys, if you are looking at a car long distance, have them send you a video walk around of the car. Have them take the time to really do close-up walk around video, open all the doors, open the hood, open the trunk, get a close-up picture of each wheel. Get a close-up picture of each panel. Ask the salesman, I would like a picture of each panel of the car and only that panel. That way you get a close enough picture that you can zoom in and you can see for yourself. Don't depend on the salesman to be honest with you. Make that salesperson work for their money. Ask them specifically, is there any cosmetic issue on any panel on the car that I would want to be aware of? I'm telling you, you have to sometimes get a crayon and color a picture for these guys, because clearly my question was, are there any issues with the car, cosmetic or condition, weren't good enough for this guy. I probably needed to be a little bit more detailed. So be very specific when you're asking questions about these cars. Ask, is there any wear and tear on the seats that I would want to know about? Is there any tears, rips, wear off any of the finish on the seats or any of the interior? Are there any cracks in any glass? Or anything like that? Again, this is whether you're dealing with a normal used car dealership or a factory dealership like a Ford dealership. That doesn't mean that their standards are going to be above what you would expect, because I learned my lesson with this Ford dealership. So at the end of the day, guys, I know this is a rant, but I thought it would be good that I could help you, maybe prevent you from making a wasteful decision like I did and waste a lot of mine and my wife's time on going to purchase this car. Now, you would think if I put a Facebook review, a Google review, a Cars.com review on this dealership, that maybe that dealership might reach out to me. Maybe somebody in leadership at that dealership maybe want to reach out to me so they would be aware of the situation that they have. Nope. That's been almost a month ago now. Never a peep from anybody. So that goes to tell me that that leadership at that dealership doesn't really care. And that's okay. But that's why I'll never do business at that dealership again, and hopefully prevent you guys from making a mistake at a dealership if you're trying to buy a car from a distance. So to wrap this video up, guys, hopefully my experience will help you just be as detailed as possible, no matter if you're buying a $3,000 car or a $50,000 car. If you're trying to buy something from a distance, have them start the car up, do a walk around video, ask very specific and probing questions, have a picture of every panel taken, have a picture with the doors open, with the interior. I'm telling you, if you don't ask it, guess whose fault it is? It's yours. It's your fault if you don't ask the questions. So at the end of the day, I blame myself. Does the dealership have some blame in it? Yeah, I guess. I mean, that's how they conduct business. So they can continue to conduct business that way. So I blame myself, but ultimately at the end of the day, all things worked out because I said, you know what? That dealership pushed me to say, you know what? I'm not going to deal with buying a used one. I want a new one. And that's what I did. And the dealership in Moscow Mills, Jim Trineri dealership, they fixed me up. Guys, I didn't get no deals on this car any more than deals than you guys could get on a car. But that dealership was exactly what you would expect when you pull up to a dealership. The car is clean, it's detailed, it's full of gas. They got all the paperwork ready to go for you, no issues. Now, mind you, this was a brand new car, but that's the things that you expect. That's what you expect from a dealership, right? Guys, I want to thank you for sticking around to the end and listening to my rant, but ultimately, hopefully it saves you some time in the future and gives you some tips on when you're purchasing a car. I'll see you guys on the next one.